Welcome to the Spark Report. John W. Davis and Pavy. What's going on, Pav? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. How are you? How are you feeling today?
I feel really good because it's the second half of the season, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm watching a new basketball team. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like these are the LA Sparks that I thought they would be at the beginning of the season, beating who they're supposed to beat. And that'll be a topic later on in the show because I'll go down the wins and then you'll be like, because I know you made a really good point the other day. You said, where are the quality wins?
Yeah.
You know, that's something we got to talk about, especially if you want to make the playoffs. Now, yes, you can make the playoffs.
If you want to win in the playoffs, you
Yeah,
can make
yeah,
the
that's what I
playoffs.
was going to say. You
If you
can
want to
make the
win,
playoffs,
yeah.
but if you want to
to
win in the playoffs, you
yeah,
have to be able to beat above average teams.
yeah,
Right now, they have not beat an above average team at the moment of when they played them. The only team with a winning record that they beat
is the Mercury.
Phoenix Mercury. And when they played them, the Phoenix Mercury did not have a winning record. They were playing without Diana Taurasi.
They were.
So you got to be honest about that. But all of that said, it is encouraging that the Sparks are 10-13. It is encouraging that they're on a 4-game winning streak, which is the second longest streak in the league. It is encouraging that they still seem that they can't lose at Staples Center. Now, that may change when the last two games are the Connecticut Sun and the Seattle Storm.
I mean, they've been trying to lose at Staples Center. They just
I don't
been
think they've
pulling their
been
game
trying
out.
to lose.
When I say trying to lose, I mean like they've been. I've been. If you want to talk about the wins that they've had, I've been a little less impressed than you.
I didn't say I was impressed. Did I say I was
Okay.
impressed?
Fair.
Did I use that word?
No, you
I
didn't.
said it was good to see him, but I didn't say I was impressed because
That's fair.
when you win a game by 5 and then you win a game by 2 and you win a game by 3 and then you win another game by 3,
The
like
ways they were winning the games
you're
was just
barely
like,
winning these games.
yeah,
But a win is a win, though.
yeah.
A win is a win. In the grand
Oh,
scheme of things,
facts.
it doesn't matter how many points you win by. You only need to win by 1.
No, facts. I mean, I would say that I think some of those games I thought that the opposition beat themselves more than they just beat them. But like you say, a win is a win, and even Fish mentioned this. I forget after which game it was, but you know when you look at the stat sheet 10 years from now, it just says win. It doesn't tell you how it happened. It just says
Mm-hmm.
win. So as long as it says win, it goes in that column and not in the loss column, and it is what it is.
The other thing about it is, no offense to the Indiana Fever, no offense to the Atlanta Dream, but those are teams you will not be playing in the playoffs. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't care how they beat those teams. Now, I care more so how they beat the Liberty on the road, but even still, that's a below average team. Look at their record. They are sub 500. If you're not above 500, you are a below average team. 500 is average, in my opinion. So all they're doing right now is beating teams they're supposed to beat.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the mark of an at least average team, that you beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Once you start beating teams that are just as good or better than you, then you are a good team.
Good team.
They're not a good team yet, but they're on their way to being a good team.
Yeah.
Even still, they're going to play the Mystics. The Mystics got that super lineup now. They got Cloud and Atkins and Hines Allen and Deladon and Tina Charles and Sydney Weiss and Leilani Mitchell. Like, they got a nice 7.
Luckily for them,
but
they're
still,
catching them.
They're below 500.
Luckily for them, they're catching them with Deladon's second game back. So it's like, you know, she may be a little rusty. People may not know how to. I don't think
she's on a minutes restriction, period.
Yeah, that and Tina Charles wasn't there last time. She was a couple people who on that roster that weren't even on the roster last time she touched the court. Right. So luckily for them, they're catching them on probably kind of like what the Sparks were on, kind of like a readjustment period. You know, when everybody came back, everybody was kind of readjusting everybody.
No, you're right. That's literally her second game she's ever played with Tina Charles in a WNBA teammate system. Yeah, they played together in the Olympics. And then Maisha Hines Allen, she played with her before, but like they never spent that much time on the court.
Yeah, she wasn't realized the way she is now back in 2019.
Right. So if I'm Deladon, I am going to empower my other players to do more. Kind of like the documentary that you had me watch last night, the Malice at the Palace, where Reggie was like, I got to the point where I'm empowering my players to do more. Like I'm stepping back, I'm letting my young dogs do it. Like if I'm Belladon, I'm letting. If Tina Charles want to average 25 points like she was doing in the beginning of the season, let her. If Ariel Atkins want to step up and do something, let her. If Cloud want to do something, let her. If Hines Allen want to bring the ball up the court and be Draymond, let her. Like Deladon should relish the fact that she has people that can take the pressure off her. But like you said, it's her second game back. They didn't win the first game. And yes, they played the Seattle Storm, which is one of the 3 best teams in the league, but they still didn't win. She's still on a minutes restriction, and she still has to see how she feels after playing a game, and then the contact, the bruising, everything like that, and then ramping back up to play again.
For sure.
Luckily for her, she's at home. But for the Sparks, they're in the midst of a 6-game road trip. They won the first game, then they're going to play Washington. Luckily for them, they got back-to-back at Connecticut. Because traveling to Connecticut is one of the hardest things you can do.
Oh yeah, because there's no
direct flight. You fly close, but then you have to bus to Mohegan Sun. Unless you have a charter plane, you have to bus.
You have to bus.
So, like, if I am the Connecticut Sun, I'm Kurt Miller. If I'm being truthful with you, I really don't even want the league. I mean, I kind of want the league to improve travel because it's better for my team, but then I kind of don't, because that basically guarantees a home win every single time that somebody has to come to Connecticut. They fly there, then they have to bus. Like the Aces were going to be on like a 5-hour bus ride or something the other day, just to go up there and play. Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
It's a little weird. I feel like you can get it closer than 5 hours. There are
they were gonna have to bus from like the Mystics. They were gonna have to bus from DC.
I feel like that is outrageous. I know there are airports. There are about 4 airports in the area that you can bus to or bus from that I look at.
It might have had something to do with the fact that there was a tropical storm hurricane coming through at the time. But still, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
So I will say I'm not impressed by the Sparks, but I like where they are, because I just wrote an article for Winsider.com about the fact that the LA Sparks now control their own playoff destiny. Honestly, the Sparks can move all the way up to 6th and host the home playoff game in that first round if they really do things the way they should do, the way they can possibly do things. Yeah, now, granted, that's 9 games left, and they probably got to win 7 or 8 of those. But it's the possibility that it's there. It's no longer like, oh, well, we need this team to do this, we need this team to do that, and you got to do this. Like, no, you depend on yourself now. That's how you want it to be.
I mean, for me, I think the thing that I was impressed most about was third quarter Liberty game, when it looked like I think the Liberty pushed the lead up to about 10. It was I don't think it ever got over 10. It was like about 10, and I was just watching the game like, all right, stay in your offense, keep doing what you want to do. Like, don't try to chase threes with them because they were shooting threes. Stay in your offense, keep sticking with it, and keep going to what you want to get to. And I was impressed by the fact that they did that. Obviously, they calmed down. They weren't going to hit the shots. Some of the shots they were hitting, like they were in that third quarter all game. They calmed down, stayed with what they wanted to do, and it eventually ended up pulling the game out. To me, I like the fact that they seem to have some more like I can look at them and at least recognize what they're doing. And I think everybody is at least on the same page, and they know what everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. And also with people being back in the lineup, I think it puts people back in their more natural roles, and people don't have to do as much. And people can just, again, go to the game knowing what I'm going to do. Like Nia, she's a wing, right? But when everybody was hurt, she was playing the 4, the 5, the 3, the like playing everything. You go to the game, you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing. So you don't even know how to prepare. Like if you want to go and shoot around and just shoot from a place, you don't even know where to go shoot from because you don't know where you're going to be sliding on the floor to get the ball at. I feel like now
we see her warming up in the corners.
Yeah, I feel like now with Sinead being back, Nneka being back, Chrissy being back, I think everybody has a more clear foundation and idea about what they're supposed to be doing nightly, and I think that is one thing that's helping them on both sides of the ball, honestly. So that's the thing. So like that's probably the thing that I'm most encouraged by is the fact that they at least look like they know what they want to do.
Let me ask you this. I'm curious to know what you think about this. We haven't even talked about this, but I think this is a question that you can answer. What do you think about the fourth quarter rotations we've seen recently where Christy Tolliver basically sits out a lot of the fourth quarter and barely comes in until the end of the game?
I mean, obviously it could be, stamina. Obviously she's 35, 36 years old. Maybe they feel more comfortable with her starting the game and finishing the game. Also, I think defensively, she's probably not one of the better defenders on the team. I think that this team hangs its hat on defense. But at the same time, when they need a big bucket or some free throws, they throw it right in there. So like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have an issue with the rotation. And again, they've been winning games.
Right.
I think he's probably going defense over offense. I think he thinks that no matter who I put on the floor, we can figure out a way to score. Even if it just be we just like run a post up for Neka, we run something for Neka. As long as we have Erica and Neka out there, we can kind of figure out a way to manufacture some type of points. Or also we play good enough defense, we'll force a turnover. We will score anyway. So I think he's probably going defense over offense. And when he needs a bucket, still think Chrissy is probably your best bucket getter, especially
Most
from a
definitely.
guard position
Yeah.
on the team. So I don't really have an issue with this rotation. Like I understand the concept of what he's trying to do.
I
Or not
like
trying
it.
to do, doing.
Yeah, I like it as well because Taya Cooper and Wheeler play well together. You always want Brittany Sykes on the court as much as possible. And so you're not really going to go three guards and Sykes or 3 point guards. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to do Wheeler, Tolliver, and Taya Cooper and Sykes. Like that's too much. So, I mean, something has to give. And I also like it because it takes the pressure off of Taya Cooper to score. Like that's what was frustrating me earlier in the season when people were like, oh, Taya Cooper had a good game. She scored a bunch of points. And I would say, I don't care how many points she scored. Did they win?
I will say this about Taya.
Because her defense is helping win games now. That's how she dominates the game. Not taking people to the hole, making layups.
I
Like,
will
yeah, she can
say
do that,
I
but
will say this about Taya. Taya is now. I looked at a lot of people's WNBA people about what they were doing over the break. Now I don't follow Taya on social media, so I don't know what she was doing over the break. But just
okay.
looking at her and the way she came back, it seems like she was one of the people who took that month off to get in the gym and improve her game. I don't know what she's been shooting since the break. I think her set shot has been better. And like at least now, if she gets left open, I think she's making defenders at least think about getting a hand up. Where I think earlier in the season or last year, you didn't really have to think about it. So I will say, yes, I'm with you. But even I think her offense and the reason and her ability to at least make a open three now, as as long as I don't expect her to do much off the dribble when it comes to shooting, but her like set shot I think is good enough. Well, also I think Fish feels comfortable leaving her in to get her defense because he's not scared that he will be lacking too much by leaving her in the court offensively.
Mm-hmm. Let me pull up these stats and so we can break them down, her post All-Star stats. And I'll tell you what she was doing during the break. She took time off, and then when it was time to come back to LA and work, she worked in the gym with the rest of the team every single day. That's what she did. Like Taya Cooper, when it's time for Taya Cooper to play basketball and practice, that's what she does. So I give her respect and I give her props for doing that. Let me get these stats because I think that she has been above her averages in the second half of the
I
season. I
have
know it's
not
only been
looked,
4 games. I'm
but
trying to
I'm
pull them up.
assuming she been above him. I haven't looked, but just from watching the games and being there and my own two eyes, I'm assuming she's been a little bit above her averages.
Yeah, I'm going to pull them up in a little bit. But what do you think about Erica Wheeler? I feel like she's been very consistent, even still post All-Star break, post Olympic break.
I think she's selling in her role. I mean, like I don't ever think she was bad at any point in time this season. I thought she wasn't finishing as well as she needed to be finishing. I think she's improved upon that. She's probably better in the pick and roll. I think at times she still maybe plays a little bit too fast and like will get it set in her mind like I need to go score on this play. And it's like, no, you could, dump that back for like a kick out a pick and pop, or you can, be more patient with that. But yeah, I think she's been consistent. She's been good all year. I think she's still near the top in clutch point. She goes out there and competes every night. Like you can count on Erica to do Erica things every night. So yeah, I don't have an issue with how she's been playing. I never had an issue with how she was playing at any point in time this season, me personally. Is it my? Anyway, seems to be slight internet issues at the moment. But no, yeah, when it comes to, also, I think one of the things that probably really helped the Sparks was the fact that nobody went to the Olympics, so they could sit up and they could practice. I think they had at least, I want to say, about 2 to 3 weeks in LA before everybody else did. Well, not in LA, but they had like 2 to 3 weeks in LA as a full roster before what maybe some other teams did. If you have, let's say the Vegas, even though Vegas is perfectly fine, but Vegas have, if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 people that went to the Olympics. Sparks didn't have any. Even like the Storm, they had 2 people who went to the Olympics. Sparks didn't have any. So they've been sitting down. They've been sitting down. They've been in LA. They've been practicing, and they've been doing this for 3 to 4 weeks at a time at this time. So you can kind of tell that the camaraderie is getting there. And again, just people being back, I think obviously strongly helps them. Even somebody like, I think John is back now. John, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. It's all love. It's all love.
I got that dial up that.
Yeah. But one thing I was
got mail.
But one thing I was saying while you were gone, I think I mentioned this before, was that one good thing. I think we were talking about Taya, but one good thing for them was that they had nobody that went to the Olympics, unfortunately, but they had nobody that went to the Olympics. So like I mentioned, like Vegas, even though Vegas is fine, but Vegas had 3 to 4 players, I think, that all went to the Olympics.
4.
They had like Kelsey was in the 3-on-3, Jackie Young, Asia, and Chelsea were all on the team.
Mm-hmm.
The Sparks, like when they say, okay, y'all can go practice again, everybody can go get in 2-3 weeks of practice and work on things. And finally, you could play 5-on-5 in practice. I think that was something that they couldn't do for probably the whole entire year, because you bring in even practice players, so you couldn't, so that you could finally, run your sets, run your defense, run your offense, and things like that, and you can pretty much see that the offense looks a little bit more polished. Like, even though it is like a lot of pick and roll, a lot of handoffs, it still looks more polished. And at least people's court positioning is much better than I think it was before the break.
It is much better. And they just actually have chemistry now. But more so than chemistry, they actually have healthy players to have chemistry. Like, they just didn't have enough players. And they all but admitted that when they were on that losing streak. I mean, what do you expect them to do when Nia Coffey is the second tallest player on the team?
Yeah.
They had Bria Holmes for a while, but, Nia Coffey is your 4 or 5 backup. It was just Zowie B by herself. The fact that Zowie B now has help, not that Nia Coffey wasn't help, but that she now has size to go with her and to pair with her, whether she's playing with Nneka or she's playing with Janae or even Lauren Cox. That makes such a difference, because I can tell you this, Zowie B was getting tired of being the only one down there in the post battling and dang near having to fight people.
I want to talk about that.
And you've mentioned this before too, that the way they call inside
is wild.
They don't call inside.
Yeah, like I've been like seeing so many, even when like Shanae got frustrated against the Liberty and pushed down. Who did she push down?
Ooh.
She clearly pushed her. Like it was definitely unnecessary.
I can't remember who it was, but it was definitely a foul.
Or even when the Fever game, was it a McBride who came across Zowie's face with the elbow? in
Was it
the
Collier?
Fever. Maybe in the
Oh,
Fever
her and
game.
Collier got in the dust up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can't.
So
That's the thing. Oh no. In the Fever game, it was McCowan.
McCowan.
Pierre
Like,
McCowan.
yeah, like, but like I'm watching it and they're like, I'm like, yo, there's like so much contact, nothing's being called. Somebody's going to get mad, somebody's going to get frustrated. Like, even though Shanae, like with Shanae on that play, it was going back and forth like the whole like for like 20 seconds. Somebody's going to get frustrated at a point. You have to call that and stop that out, or players are going to take it up on themselves because they're going to naturally get frustrated. I'm getting pushed around for 15 seconds. I'm going to get mad.
Yes, and Chinea Gumike is a very physical player. Like, she seeks out contact and she seeks out giving contact as well.
Which one thing I've noticed since the break is like the Sparks are a really mean team defensively. Like they will knock you down.
Yeah.
They get called for a lot of fouls, but because they actually do foul a lot. Like they play a very physical style of basketball. And even with Shanae being back, they even play a more physical style of basketball, which for them is good. Like they muck games up and they can consistently do that. And they can win games doing that until their offense catches up.
Yeah. I find it interesting that, they're still not scoring a lot of points, but you only have to score one more point than your opponent. But eventually playing like that catches up with you, though, because there's going to come a game when you just can't buy a bucket. So how do you win a game when you can't buy a bucket is my question. I don't know if they can.
The weirdest thing
because if we're talking about playoffs, this single elimination for the first 2 rounds.
The weirdest thing for them is that they force a lot of turnovers, but they don't score that many points on those turnovers. I have no idea why. It's just been like a thing all season. I don't know if it's
better. I think it's getting better.
Like, I don't know if it's the types of turnovers they force, where they force them at. That does a lot.
Well, when Brittany Sykes forces her, steals at the top of the perimeter,
she scores.
She'll get a layup and score. But yeah, a lot of them are just part of them are like unforced errors. Where they just end up with the ball.
A lot of them.
So it's a turnover, but it's not like they purposely turn them over. It's like a bad pass, a bad this, a bad that. Like, it's not actively stealing the ball.
Especially with the Liberty game. That's why I was just that's one of the reasons why I was like over the past couple of games. I feel like a lot of these teams took as much part of beating themselves as the Sparks did with just beating them. Like the Liberty, when Laney throws the behind the back pass with 50 seconds left. What made you go with that verse? What are you doing? Like,
Sizzle,
you down,
baby. Sizzle, baby.
What you down to, and throw a behind the back pass for no reason with 50 seconds left. Or when the Fever, didn't they shoot 20% from the free throw line one game?
No, the Dream shot really bad.
The Dream, 20%. How do you shoot 20%?
It wasn't 20, but it was like 40. 50.
No.
Oh, is that bad? Okay.
It was like 20 or 30.
Okay.
I think they was like 3 for like 19 or something like that from the
Look, you want to know how you make a pass like that, Pappy?
How?
Because you feel like it, and because it's basketball, and because it's a game, and you just feel like it.
No, not in that moment. That's not what
fundamentals are boring.
Yeah, but not in that moment.
Fundamentals are boring. Why do you think Chelsea Gray makes the passes she makes? Now she can make them. She can make.
She don't do that with 50 seconds left, though. She don't do that. She don't do that with 50 seconds left. She don't do that with 50 seconds left. She'll do it on a break where it's like that was unnecessary. She don't do that with 50 seconds left. I will not sit up and say I've seen her do that with 50 seconds left.
Because we ain't seen her play with 50 seconds in a whole year.
That's fair.
2 years, really, because the wobble don't count.
That's fair.
It counts as they played, but it doesn't count that we saw it in person.
Fair.
It's different watching it on TV.
Fair. I won't argue.
So, I don't know. What do you think about the idea of an 8-person rotation for the rest of the season, too?
What would your 8 people be? Who would your 8 people
my
be?
8 people are the starting lineup. I think you keep the starting lineup the same. I think you start Erica Wheeler, Christy Tolliver, Brittany Sykes, Nneka Ogwumike, and Amanda Zawi B. I think your first person off your bench is Ted Cooper to
Taylor, your
relieve.
first person off the bench.
Yes, to relieve one of your guards. I'm not saying she gets the most minutes off the
But
bench.
you first
I'm saying
person
she's the
comes
first off the bench. So
in
you,
the game.
yeah, so you're giving, Wheeler or Tolliver that first rest, most likely Tolliver.
Mm-hmm.
Then Nia Coffey. I think Nia Coffey plays the most minutes off the bench. And then I think you use Chanae because she's going to rebound. And as unorthodox as it is sometimes, she knows how to get the ball in the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I think you can use Lauren Cox in spots. I think you maybe even can use Arella Garantes in spots, but I don't think you have to use them at this point. Like, you got to win basketball games. We're not teaching anymore.
No, I can't.
This is all application.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. I think that down the stretch, especially when you start playing against some of these much better teams, especially when it's, let's say I know they don't want to talk about the playoffs, but you get to the playoffs in the single elimination, you want to put out your best 8 women out there. And I'm with you. I think that's the best 8 women. I think those are the women with the most experience. I think they're all very interchangeable basketball players. I think they all have a great idea, a great sense of what's supposed to be going on night after night. Yeah. And I think, and like I said, I think that they're very versatile players. So no, I'm fully with that. I don't really.
Now, if you had Bediva, if I had Bediva, she would be playing. If I had Jasmine Walker, she would be playing. But I
actually think them having 8 people that they rely on bodes well. I think sometimes rotation with a little bit too many people, it's a lot of people to get on the same page.
You know who my favorite coach is for the rotation in the league?
Who?
It's 2 of them, actually. It's Kurt Miller, because he plays 7. And it's Bill Lambier, because he plays like 7.5. Maybe 8. Like, they know that they can ask these players to play high 30 minutes every game, and they will respond most games with a win. Like, the point is to win the games. Obviously, NECA is far and above every other post player on this team when it comes to efficiency. So she has to play as many minutes as she can handle. NECA tells you when she wants a break. That's how you use NECA. Okay?
For sure.
The same thing with Erica Wheeler. Like, she tells you when she wants a break for the most part.
I don't think anybody's usage is that high to the point where it's like
NECA been playing high usage since she came back the last 4 games. Is very high.
Let me actually look at
the game when she almost hurt herself, when she got hit in the face and she grabbed her knee. When she came back, she played the rest of the game, including overtime.
Yeah, but usage though. Usage.
Oh, usage?
Usage. Like, I don't like NECA's usage rate. This is just on the season.
I think Christy Tolliver's usage rate is probably the highest, honestly.
This is actually interesting, but I'm gonna read off the usage rates. It's interesting. Okay. Obviously, this is whole season, so I'm sure things have changed when people came back. Erica is the highest at 25.5. Taya Cooper is the second highest with 24.2. Zowie B 22.6. NECA 22. Shanae 21. Arella is 20, but I think that's a little bit screwed. Brittany Sykes 18. Christy 18.
When Arella was in the game, she shoots.
Fair. Fair.
Arella is like the rookie version of Marina Mabry.
Fair.
Back in the day in 2019, Marina come in the game, she shoot. That's what Arella does. Arella get in the game, she shoots. You know what Arella does pregame? She works out one-on-one against the player development coach, Dash. Like,
that is hilarious.
She gets the ball, like she's ready to, go through the bag, go through the moves, and she go get a shot off
immediately.
Shout out to Arella. She go get her shot off.
I'm trying to find since the break.
They may have a post-Olympic break stat that can kind of break it down. But
I'm looking at Basketball Reference. I don't see it, but yeah, I'm looking at Basketball Reference. I don't see the advanced. But again,
what's up? How about this? I wrote a whole article about Brittany Sykes for DPOY, for Defensive Player of the Year. I have started a social media campaign and a hashtag for it. Do you think she has a legit chance to win Defensive Player of the Year? Or do you think everything that I'm doing and that she's doing is for naught?
Probably not, but she'll probably get some votes.
Mhm.
I don't think she'll win it, but she'll get some votes, especially from the fact of where do the Sparks rank defensively on the season so far?
They about upper half.
They have the fifth ranked defense. They have the fifth.
Yeah.
They have the fifth
Who
ranked
has the
defense.
number one ranked defense?
I don't even. I gotta. Don't let me figure. I would probably assume Vegas.
Because right now the leading candidate in most people's eyes, and they're saying like doesn't even matter voting wise anymore, is Sylvia Fowles. And that's because, you know, she was leading the league in rebounds. She had a lot of blocks and things like that. But that was the whole Brittany Sykes' whole point, is that don't just give it to a person that's 6'6" and above because they had a bunch of rebounds and blocks. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. Like, that's their positioning on the court.
I feel you, but like it's
like
really hard.
You're super close to the rim. Like, you're supposed to rebound and block.
Nah, Connecticut has the number one rated defense, and then it's Vegas, then it's Chicago, then Seattle, then the Sparks, then the Lynx, then the Mercury, then everybody else.
So that's the thing. So people are just going to go off stats and give it to Fowles, but her team's defense isn't even that high, if you're being real about it. Now, I don't think that the voters will vote Brittany Sykes for DPOY. Should they? I don't know. I don't have a vote. But I do think she will make first team all defense. I think she's made enough noise on the court and off the court to make first team all defense, which will be an improvement for her. Because last year she made second team all defense. And so, like, this is a maturation process. You just don't go from second team to defensive player of the year in one season.
I mean, Sylvia is averaging us like 1.8 steals, 1.8 blocks.
Yeah, right. So she's got a lot of steals, a lot of blocks, a lot of rebounds. She's probably going to win it. Because if you look at the stats, she's going to win it.
I mean, I also think John Quayle should get some votes as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
John Quayle should get some votes as well.
That's what I was going to say too.
John Quayle should get some votes for everything this year.
See, this is what voters do. Voters say, well, the Aces ended up with the best record, so I'm going to give MVP to Asia Wilson again. But I really thought John Quayle was really good, and so she's going to be second MVP, but I want her to have an award, so we're going to give her DPOY. And, like, that's what voters do.
I don't think they always do that. I can't say that they always do that. I can't say they always.
How did we end up with Elizabeth Williams on first team all defense last year?
That I don't know. But I think I can't fully remember, but I think we looked back, and when we looked at it, I think there was like an actual legitimate, it was like her rating or something like that was pretty good or something like that last year. I can't remember fully because it was a whole year ago. I cannot remember fully. But I don't think that they always do that though. I can't say that they always do that for like MVP or defensive player of the year. Like usually when I look at the people who win those awards, I think that they deserve them.
Think about 2019.
Who won defense? It was Natasha Howard won.
Right, Natasha Howard won Defensive Player of the Year, but she was
deserving.
It was deserved. But what I'm saying is she was also a candidate for MVP, and so since she couldn't win MVP because that was that Deladon?
Yeah, but Deladon deserved it though.
Right, and so Deladon deserved MVP. But Natasha Howard was in consideration for it, so you're definitely gonna give her the next award she's eligible for. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, yes, but she also deserved Defensive Player of the Year. Like when you look at everything that the Storm lost, and you look at everything that the Storm lost.
But earlier in the season, thank you, Sabrina.
I don't remember.
Look, Sabrina knows why she got that award. I'm gonna tell you. You want to know why she got that award?
Why?
Because the dream saved democracy.
The dream saved democracy. All right.
They wanted to award her for something. Because the dream didn't even make the playoffs. And you telling me they had 2 first team all defenders? No.
That's fair.
No. Laney, sure. Williams, no. And this is no offense to her personally. This has nothing to do with that. Thank you for your leadership with the Atlanta Dream and the league and the world. Thank you
for your leadership.
But no.
But no, Brittany, like I think Brittany
has no. So that's what I'm saying. So Natasha Howard, DPOY in 2019, But I remember earlier in that season that you were saying that Nneka should have been DPOY.
I think that she had a very, very fair case for it, for sure.
Right. But
But
she
I
didn't. But she didn't win it because
she
she wasn't
didn't.
in it. Because she wasn't in the MVP conversation.
I think she was in the conversation. She just wasn't as high as maybe some other names.
No, because
In
that
my
was
personal opinion, she was in the
Chelsea Gray
conversation.
first team All WNBA year. It's hard when you have multiple first teams to have an MVP.
Man, they cancel each other out.
Yeah. If it was just one of them carrying the team, sure. But when you got multiple people carrying the load, and then you still had Candace in there who had some positive weeks in 2019, it's just impossible for somebody to rise above. Like, did Natasha Howard win Defensive Player of the Year last year? No.
She did not.
Were her stats just as good or better? Yes. Her stats were literally better in 2020 than 2019 defensively. And she got no consideration because they decided that it was going to be Alicia Clark's award.
Fair. Also, Brianna Stewart was playing right next to her though. So like when you watch it took a little bit off of
Yeah, but why do we keep stats? If we're not going to use the stats, why do we keep stats?
And also, I think she started off the season rough last year, if I'm not mistaken.
She started slow.
She started slow, and it was only like 24 games.
22 games, I think.
Some small.
Yeah, right. It was a really small amount of games.
But looking forward, let's look at what they have. Right. How many games do the Sparks have left in total?
9.
9 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Can we read the list of those 9 games?
Yes.
And break down what they need to do? Obviously, make the playoffs, but like, what more do you want to see from them in these 9 games to get them ready for the playoffs? And what could they possibly do in the playoffs if they got to the playoffs?
So here are the games: 8:24, the Mystics on the road; 8:26, the Sun on the road; 8:28, the Sun on the road; 8:31, the Fever on the road; September 2nd, the Lynx on the road; back home against the Sun on September 9th. Back home against the Storm, September 12th.
This is who put the schedule in.
On the road again, Atlanta, September 16th. And then finishing the season in Dallas, September 19th. So those are the 9 games. To me, there's probably a statistical way that they could make the playoffs and not beat the Sun, any of those games, or the Lynx or the Storm with the way this is all going to shake out. But to me, they have to beat between those games. That's 3, 5. That's 5 games. They have to at least win 2 of those 5 games between the 3 games they play the Sun, the 1 game against the Lynx, and the 1 game against the Storm. They got to at least win 2 of those 5 games. To me, that would show that they are a legit playoff team if they can beat teams that they know are going to be in the playoffs for sure, that they know are legit teams that can be in the semifinals. They have to do that. If they go 4-5 and then they somehow just get in the playoffs, well, I mean, they're in there, but still wouldn't have beat anybody. Like, you have to win some of those games, pal.
I'm with you. I think that but I also think that they will win some of them. I think it's just, for one, it's very hard to beat a team that many times. Like, even when you go to Connecticut, I think that they may drop, like, let's say they drop the first game, but then the second game, I think that they may be able to pick up the Storm. The Storm have a tendency to turn the ball over a lot. Granted, like from some of the games, I think even when I watched them play the Liberty, it was early in the season, I think they had like 20-something turnovers or something like that. The Storm have a tendency to turn the ball over a lot sometimes. So I think that they could pick up that game. That game is also at home. Also, I don't know how much scouting a lot of teams have on this version of the Sparks, just for the simple fact of they ain't played together that much.
That's
so
true.
I still think that they might, sneak up on some of these teams who obviously regular season, you're not in like a series, you aren't sitting down, and I don't think you sitting down nitpicking every single thing if you even have time to do that, mid-season for just like one-off games. But yeah, I think they can pick up some of these games again. Like, I think they can pick up some of these games. And if they get to the playoffs, I think they could possibly get to a series. But we had this whole thing before the season when people talking about what their record were. I think we both said 20-14 or something like that. Or did we say 22-12 or something? What did we?
20-12, I think we were saying.
20-12.
So that's
Yeah,
gone. That's gone now because they already got
that's
13 losses.
that's gone. But I'm just saying that we didn't think this was a bad team or a below average team. We thought this was a good team. We
But
just didn't
now, but
foresee
now
everybody
my
getting hurt.
right. But now my idea is 500.
Of course, I mean, of course. Obviously,
Finish
with
the
like the way
season
this,
500.
of course, obviously with the way the season has gone, and you have the injuries. I think even finishing the season 500 would be something that's commendable. And even
Oh,
if you
definitely.
don't,
Because that
eh,
would be going 10-3 the last 13 games.
and to me, even if you don't, I think the fact that you show signs of life down the stretch, and I think it's just as much about the way you play,
Mm-hmm.
and than it is always the result,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I
Yeah.
think this team is playing very inspiring basketball. They don't quit, and they have a habit of games never get out of control. Have they got blown out all year?
The Sparks?
Maybe like yeah.
Yeah. They
In
got
which
blown
games?
out sometimes.
In which games? This is like probably way earlier in the
They got
season.
blown out by the Lynx the last game before the Olympic break, 86-61. And they got blown out by the Aces, 99-75 on June 30th. And probably the first Lynx game, 80-64. Mystics,
That's not really a
89,
blowout.
89-71. Like, yeah, they got beat a couple times.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't
Aces
happen
early in the season, 97-69. Like the Wings, the first game of the season, 94-71. Like, yeah, no,
it
they
doesn't, but
got beat.
it doesn't happen too much. Usually they have a thing of keeping games at least respectably close.
I don't
Usually.
think this current team, as
Yes.
long as they remain
Yes.
healthy, will get blown out. But I do want to put this back on the record, though. I will be so encouraged if the Sparks can win the season series against the Sun. If they can win 2 out of 3 games against the Sun, they can beat anybody in this league. That's my barometer for them. Win 2 out of 3 against the Sun, you can play anybody, especially in a playoff situation where obviously they're going to have to play, a first round and a second round game, single elimination. But if you beat the Sun 2 out of 3 times, then you got a chance to beat anybody, especially single elimination.
I think they need to do that mentally for them, even also mentally for Fish. I think they need to do that. I think beating them would give them a different level of confidence, seeing as how that's the team that's put them out the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And
like put them out.
Yeah,
like,
put them out the playoffs 2 years in a row.
I don't think they've won a playoff game against them.
No, because they got
swept.
They got swept
and then
in 2019.
They got single eliminated.
And so there's 4 straight losses in playoff situations to this team. And I don't know.
That's all the playoff games that Derek. Well, I was going to say that's all he coached, but that's not true because they did have to play. They did have to play in the second round game against the Storm. But so he's 1-4 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All of his losses are against the same team.
Exactly. And mostly to them. So then there's also the thing about Kurt Miller out coaching you.
Mm-hmm.
as well as them getting outplayed and while you getting out coached. So I think for them it's very important that at least if they don't win a season series, they at least make it respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like you go back and you look at tape and you like, all right, if we do 1 or 2 things differently,
Yeah.
one or 2 things differently, this game has a whole different outcome.
But if they do win that season series, though, watch out. Now, let me say this about the standings right now. The other thing about the Sparks, which makes it a little risky for them, is if they have to win this game against the Mystics because they need the tiebreaker over them. The Mystics won 1 and they've won 1. If they lose this, they will not have the tiebreaker against the Mystics if it came down to it. They already do not have the tiebreaker against the Dallas Wings because they've already won 2 games. And so that would put them in a really tough position if it came down to that. At the end of the season, they would lose. The only team that they for sure have the tiebreaker over right now, and this is why I say they can actually get to 6, is the Chicago Sky.
Yeah. Because they were just as beat up as they were.
Yeah, because they beat them 3 times.
Yeah, they were just as beat up as they were earlier
so
in the season.
That's why I think the Sparks can still get to 6. If the Sparks can get to, what would that be? 16-16. I think they could be the 6th seed. I think they can be hosting a first round game at Staples against the 7th seed. 7th seed. Yeah, the 5th seed. will have to play a first-round game as well. And that could very well be the Liberty. It could very well be the Wings. It could very well be the Mystics. And so all of these games
That's a
right
tough
now
first round
matter.
game. That's
All
a
of these
tough first
games
round game.
matter because invariably, one of the teams that you're playing at the end of the season, most likely you're going to meet them in the first or second round of playoffs.
Yeah. Or
Most likely the first round.
Or one of those games maybe deciding the playoffs. I think Dallas is the last game of the season, right?
Yes. Now, they don't want that to have to come down to it where like that's deciding. They need to have clinched the playoffs by that dream game. They need to have clinched the playoffs by that dream game. If they're still playing the Wings to clinch, that's going to be tough. It's possible.
It's possible though.
But that's going to be tough.
But I think they'll end up, like, if I was just looking at the schedule, let me go pull up their schedule real quick and say how many games I would assume that they would win. I think they can get the Mystics tomorrow. I think they'll get one of the Sun game. That's the same Connecticut, just because it's hard to beat it. I think they lose the first game and then maybe win on Saturday. You got a day off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got a full day off. You can rest, recover, watch some film. I think they'll beat the Fever. Comes back to probably lose to the Lynx, maybe lose to the Sun. I think they'll beat the Storm. Dream, like that's actually to me kind of a trap game. I can see them honestly. No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious.
Guards who can hoop. Anytime you have guards that can play basketball, you have a chance to win.
I'm dead serious. The Dream game is a trap game because a lot had to go wrong for the Dream for them to win the first time. A lot. You shoot free throws, and shooting free throws like that is, I would think, a anomaly.
Yeah,
and they
technically could have Tiffany Hayes like really back in the rotation by then too, if she actually wanted to.
And then
play for the rest of the season.
Then they needed a buzzer beater after you was up 10, I think it was, going into the fourth or something like that. You needed a buzz. That's actually to me a trap game. I can see them losing that game and then setting up someone the last night of the season that you don't want to have. Especially with, Marina be mad. She wanted because they let her go. She be mad. Enrique come out there and give you 24, something like that.
Pavi, if I'm being honest with you, I hate to say this for Sparks fans, but they could literally lose every single game for the rest of the season.
They could, but they won't do
that. Because they literally could have lost all of the first 4 games.
They could, but they won't lose every single game the rest of the season. I'm confident in saying that they won't do that. They can if they can. Because they could have lost all 4 of them games.
There are no guaranteed wins for the rest of the season.
No, facts. There are no guaranteed wins. Because I saw the way they won them games. Because a lot of them games should have been lost.
It's no longer a guaranteed win. If the Fever is not a guaranteed win, nothing else is a guaranteed win.
Yeah, the Fever had a lot of turnovers down the stretch too. That was just like, what?
Right.
All right. That was just like, all right, if that's what.
Right.
If that's what y'all want to do right now, that's fine.
But best case scenario, they host the first round game as the 6th seed. Worst case scenario, they make it as the 8th seed. The worst case scenario is obviously you don't make the playoffs and then you just hand over a lottery pick to the Dallas Wings. That's why you have to make the playoffs. If you are the GM, Derek Fisher, you cannot have that, oh, my bad, I lost our lottery pick for Jasmine Walker.
Yeah, but who, real quick though, but who isn't everybody pretty much locked in for next year?
Salary-wise?
Yeah.
Almost.
And you would assume Maria's will come to America and play at some point?
Almost. Nia Coffey isn't. You got to incorporate Gabby Williams.
Yeah, so for them, I don't think they really need another player, honestly. I think that's just like another person for them to try to incorporate, and I don't think they need another player.
No.
Personally.
No.
So I don't think that's
need another player, but the whole point of that trade is you not trying to give Dallas that high of a pick. It's the principle of it. It's not the need, it's the principle of it. You want to feel like you won the trade by giving them, a middle of the first round pick instead of giving them a chance at the number 1 pick in the lottery. You're giving up a chance to the number 1 pick in the lottery.
You're right. I'm just saying that I don't think it's You know,
That's not acceptable.
that's not acceptable.
It's
I
not.
just don't think that they need another. Like they're not the
No,
team I look at. Like, yo, y'all need another young prospect. I don't think they need one.
no, they don't need one because they can bring back every single person they want
Exactly.
if they want to,
And
and they have Gabby Williams coming.
and again, when I look at this team, even if let's say you don't make the playoffs, I still think it's a season of what ifs. It's like, what if we could have had the bill of health?
Yeah.
What if still?
And that's why you have to go for it now with everybody healthy. Because you can't do a what if and not have a draft pick. You no. That's poor management. Because you have to build in redundancies. Like, yeah, you didn't know that Jasmine Walker wasn't going to play a game in the regular season, or what did you play? A couple minutes and then she got hurt. Like, you didn't know that. Yeah, you didn't know that Chanae was going to play a couple games and then not play for months. Yeah, you didn't know Nneka Ogwumike was going to get hurt like that. I can't say for sure if they knew that Maria Bediva wasn't going to come. I assume they didn't know she wasn't going to come. I don't know where that miscommunication was, but like,
that's a lot though. Listen to all you just said. It's a lot of setbacks, a lot of things you didn't think would happen like that.
Yeah, but like, just like everybody in the league, like if they wanted somebody who was just going to go out there and get buckets and just play hard and score, they could have tried to sign Lexi. You want somebody just going to score? They could have just signed her. Like, so they had options. They made the acquisition of Lauren Cox. They didn't have to do that. It's good to get a look at a prospect, but she's not moving the needle right now. Maybe it's great to have her in practice. It's great to have a look at a prospect that was a lottery pick.
She was
last
a third
year.
Pick in the draft.
Yeah, third pick in the draft last year. You get that for free. You know, that's essentially like having a pick with 2 years experience. Like, I feel all that, but nah, you just have to make the playoffs. You have to make playoffs. Even if you make the playoffs as the 8th seed, and currently the 8th seed is playing the Phoenix Mercury. You can beat the Phoenix Mercury in one game.
Yeah.
You can beat the Phoenix Mercury in one game.
As long as they get in the playoffs, the first couple of teams they will play is a winnable game.
Right. Everybody that is not the Sun, Aces, Storm, and Lynx, you can beat them in one game. You can even beat the Sky in one game.
You can sure beat the Sky in one game, I think.
Because first of all, Candace is hurt again. And then second of all, you already beat him 3 times. Yeah, Candace wasn't playing, but like at some point, you are your record. And that's what the Sparks are trying to become. They don't want to be their record. But when they were 6-13, they were a 6-13 basketball team. I don't care that all those people were out. They were a 6-13 basketball team. After they play the Mystics, hopefully for them, they can be an 11-13 and then so on and so on. Hopefully they can get to that level. But you are what your record is. Like, that's why we keep stats. There's no excuses. There are reasons, but there are no excuses. There are justifications, but that doesn't count. Like, you just have to win. And that's why early in the season, I was like trying to figure out why Brittany Sykes wasn't starting. Because with everybody out, Brittany Sykes is most definitely one of your top 5 players. The way she plays now, she's one of the top 4 players, maybe even top 3, you could argue. Definitely consistency. And so it's like, I know she was probably like, everybody has, nicks or whatever, but hey, you trying to win or you going home?
I also think it's probably because they wanted like some pop off the bench as well.
I don't care about that.
Just saying, like, but also wasn't she basically playing starter minutes? She was just coming off the bench at that point in time. I think they just want some pop off the bench, and that's
all. No, you don't do that with your best players.
I mean, she's
not Manu.
Yeah, but they're kind of in a way because I think they wanted her for more so defensive prowess. So we end up playing like a lot of minutes. But what did she do last year in 2020?
Once she started starting, she started the rest of the season.
She started the
When
rest
she
of the
wasn't
season.
hurt.
She did.
And it worked. So what's different now? Her size is still the same.
I think they wanted
Her
to play her.
wingspan is still the same.
I think they wanted to get her guarding more. I mean, he said he wanted to get her guarding more backcourt players, and they probably thought that her using her up and down.
Well, then that means sit down Erica Wheeler or Chrissy Tolliver. Then, if you want to guard more backcourt players.
Yeah, but at that time, wasn't Chrissy hurt too?
Not at that point. Chrissy wasn't hurt.
Also, you kind of got to give Christy a chance with all of her minutes, and I don't know what they promised her at first, but you kind of got to give her a chance because of the deal that you signed her to.
Oh, most definitely. I'm not saying don't play her, but I'm just saying.
I know you're saying like
start.
You said she had to start. I'm just saying I think they want some pop. He wants some pop off the bench and trying to try something a little bit different. I get the point, but now that everybody is back, it's like go start and we'll
pop Ted Cooper off the bench. Pop Ted Cooper off the bench. Like, she is your backup point guard.
Yeah, but that's not like
she is not going to be your starting shooting guard. She's either going to be your starting point guard at some point in her life, or she's coming off the bench. She's not about to be a 2.
Yeah, but that's what I mean by pop. Like Shanae is pop, as in she could probably start for somebody for sure. But they have her coming off the bench. So it's like when she goes and she plays against ideally the other team's second unit is pop. She's clearly the best out there. I think that's what he was trying to do with Brittany. I think. Yeah, can't speak for him, but I think.
But you need her defense at all times. You need as many minutes of her playing defense at all times. Because it was that Seattle Storm game. They made that run. They came back in the game. She sat down for break. Game was over. Not saying that she didn't deserve a break, but the game was over by the time her break was up. That's a fact.
How long did she take a break for?
I don't know. It's like 4 or 5 minutes.
If my team can't then we got some whole other issues.
No, it is your job to save your team from themselves. If you know your team can't hold 4 or 5 minutes, go with the people who can until they can't anymore.
See you out there on the Tibbs mission.
Look, there is a break
on the Tibbs mission.
There is a break between the third and fourth quarter, right?
Yeah. It's longer depending on if the game is nationally televised.
That's your break.
Yeah, you want the Tibbs mission.
Hey, I'm on the Tibbs. I'm on the Kurt Miller. I'm on the Bill Lane beer. I want to win a game. We're not talking about 48-minute games, Fav.
You're talking about 40 minutes. I'm saying that.
Tibbs want to play somebody 44 minutes out of 48.
Yeah, he does. He's insane for that.
I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying that when you are in the midst of a game and you are winning or right there, you got to stick with it until you can't stick with it anymore. You have no options.
That's fair. But rounding out, because we're almost at the hour mark, rounding out the show and just this week, I guess since we always predict records, should we predict a record for this week when we reconvene? What will the Sparks record be?
Ooh, so they're 10-13 now. So we have 3 games for this week, right? Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Yes.
I'm going to say that they will win 2 out of 3 of these games, and therefore that will make their record 12-14, inching closer to that 500 mark. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think when we reconvene, unless they go on a road, this is a brutal road stretch. But they said they on the road for 2 weeks. I think 15 days.
15 days. Yeah.
15
I don't
days,
expect them to win all 6 games on the road. That's not realistic.
Yeah. So this is
but 4 out of 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the brutal stretch. They were what were they just? They were last in New York. Go to DC. Obviously, that's not too bad.
Close.
It's close. Like what, an hour, 2 hour flight. I'm sure they were able to get in, get some rest, get some recovery, watch a little fit. But that's the Washington game is also a thing too, because ain't no film for the most part. Like a little bit, but ain't really no film on what the Mystics are trying to do. But same thing, I don't think Mystics gonna have too much film on what Sparks trying to do as well.
Yeah, but they have institutional knowledge in Christy Tolliver. Shout out to her
Yeah, Chris,
being named an assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks. The Sparks on the Mystics side, they got institutional knowledge with Sidney Weiss. Like Sidney Weiss know what they doing. Sidney Weiss ain't dumb. And Mike Tebow, he knows what they doing too. Like these coaches know what the other teams are trying to do. It's not going to be a surprise for a championship coach what the Sparks are trying to do. Because when you look at the Sparks, it looks, other than the defense and the intensity that they can really like get up under you and like force those 24-second shot clocks, the offense looks pretty simple. Like
it's simple offense, yes.
Like they want to move the ball.
It's simple offense, yes.
They move the ball. Like what else do they do past move the ball?
I won't argue. But rounding it off, I'm gonna say they're gonna go 2-1 this week. I think they beat Washington tomorrow. I think they lose the first game against the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
I think they win Saturday's game against the Sun, and I think they will be 12-14 at the end of when we reconvene for the next show.
12-14 would, honestly, I believe 12-14 would be an even better percentage than they are right now, and 12-14 should still have them in that 8th spot, if not 7th. Because now they're probably going to have a tiebreaker over the Liberty pretty soon. So, yeah, they should still be right in contention. Because if you get the Mystics have 15 losses and you still have 13 and you get the tiebreaker over them, like you kind of knock them out, at least from tying with you. Now, that doesn't mean the Mystics can't still make, because, I mean, the Mystics get to a point where they just win every single game. But that still doesn't mean they would be able to pass the Sparks if the Sparks do what they need to do. So it's very important that they control their own destiny. Now, I know I talked about that in the beginning of the show. I know I just wrote an article about that. I've been talking about that on Twitter, because like you just don't ever want to have to depend on somebody else to do something for you, especially when it comes to sports. Like
for sure,
the fact that they have they got 3 all-stars in their starting lineup, champions in their starting lineup, an all-star coming off the bench. Like, they have the basketball players to win these games. But at some point, you have to beat a team who currently has an above 500 record. They will have the chance to do that against the Sun 3 times, the Storm once, and the Lynx once. And when they play them, all of those teams will be above 500. They have to win 2 of those 5 games, reiterate. They have to. Because if you're not beating those teams, like, what's the point?
I mean, the point.
I'm not saying you should give up, but like realistically, what's the point of making the playoffs if you know you can't really beat like a legit playoff
say we
team?
made the playoffs.
For what?
We can say we made the playoffs.
To who?
To whoever. We can say we made the playoffs.
Does that matter though?
Yes, for
Does
sure.
it matter to make the playoffs and go out in the first round?
Yes, I think it still does. You made the playoffs.
But 75% of the league makes playoffs.
And the 25% don't look stupid every year, don't you? Exactly.
They surely do.
Exactly.
Dude,
I think it does matter.
You're right. You know what? It does matter, because I would
matter.
be so pissed if I didn't make the playoffs when all I had to do was be better than 4 teams.
Yeah, it does matter.
Because because you're not even being better than yourself. So yourself are your own entity. You only have to be better than 4 out of 11 teams.
And also, not even that. You the one who said that, the playoffs this year, you might see some teams with a below 500 record that make the playoffs. So yes, it does matter that you make the playoffs. It 1000% matters that you at least make the playoffs. Now, once you get there, single game elimination for the first 2 rounds, we'll see what happens. But it absolutely matters that you make the playoffs. You don't want to be in the same category as the Fever or the Dream. Not with all the talent that you have on the roster.
Right. Because you have a more talented team than them. For
sure.
Even if the Dream's backcourt is arguably just as good as yours, your front court is better. I think they just are. Yeah. Your front court is better. Yeah. NECA is better than every player.
I was gonna say arguably your Dream's backcourt is. I think the what was supposed to be the Dream's backcourt was hands down better. Now I don't
Well, right.
necessarily know.
Even Odyssey Sims and Courtney Williams, you can argue that they just as good as Chrissy Tolliver and Erica Wheeler. I'm fine with that. But what I'm saying is you got an advantage over that team.
For
but
sure.
you got to beat teams that you don't have an advantage over, though.
For sure.
Like, I'm going to keep harping on that until they do it. And if they just decide to not decide, but if they end up not beating any of those teams, I'll be disappointed in them. They should be disappointed in themselves, and I'll be disappointed in them because I'll be like, well, yeah, you can still make the playoffs 4 and 5. Okay, you could probably make the playoffs this year 3-4 games under 500.
That's so nasty.
I mean, you could definitely make the playoffs 2 games under 500.
Oh, for sure, that's nasty, but yes, you can.
Yeah, you could be 14 and 16 to make the playoffs. So realistically, the Sparks, that's what I'm saying. The Sparks, what? They just got to win 4 more games.
If they win 4 more games, 3 to 5 more games, they should be able to get in the playoffs.
Right. Actually, I think it's 66. Oh, it's 34 games. So yeah, if they win 4 or 5 more games, they in.
Yeah. And I think personally, I think they'll make it. At least make the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs.
Yes.
Now, what they do when they get there.
Now,
I think that they will at least make the playoffs.
Yeah, what they don't want is to make the playoffs and then have to fly all the way over to New York for a first round game. What they don't want is to make the playoffs and then have to fly all the way over to Chicago for a first round game. I don't think you
care though. Like from where they came from at the break, as long as you make the playoffs,
they don't care. But WNBA travel is extremely hard on your body.
Yes,
you are at a disadvantage when you play on the road, significantly.
Yes, but you at a disadvantage being 6 and 13 at the break. If they make the playoffs and they can get themselves there, I think that's the least of their concerns or worries. If we came from 6 and 13 and we can't win one game and keep going, well, maybe we don't need to win that one game. Maybe we need to start our summer.
That's true. That's true because it's a 40-minute game, and all indications are that Nneka will be playing in the playoffs. She didn't play last playoffs.
So
if we're being honest, she didn't play. Chrissy Tolliver didn't play. Erica Wheeler wasn't on the team. Brittany Sykes played, and Zowie B wasn't on the team.
Exactly.
Chanae said this, and you and I have talked about this before. There are 2 players left from the 2019 team. Chanae and Nneka. That's it. This is a totally different team. So to give them grace to be able to figure it out in the second half of the season is what we have to do. But they got to prove it. Like, the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there to win 7 out of these last 9 games. Realistically. Definitely 6 out of the last 9 games. The Storm have proven they can be beat. I don't really know if the Sun have proven they can be beat because they're 10-1 at home, but everybody else has lost at home. See, a significant amount of times. Everybody else got at least 3 losses at home.
Yeah. So,
and the Storm is a home game for them. So, like, the Sparks should come into that game feeling even.
Yeah. So I mean, we can leave it there.
Okay. Well, I will say I am encouraged.
Like what? Right now. I mean, even still, like I said, I don't necessarily like the way that they've been winning games, but at least it looks like they have some more semblance of what they're doing, and there are bright spots in at least every game, even if I don't fully like the whole combination of it. It's pieces of it that I like. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if our record was correct next time we log back on and do this.
Okay.
And yeah, man, for all you guys out there, you can always follow me at Pappy World, PVY World, all one word, John.
You can follow me at John W. Davis on Twitter, and you can read my Sparks reporting on winsider.com. And hey, subscribe to HNB MEDiA TV and sports because it's a lot of great stuff going on there. I want to give y'all your props.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Give you your flowers for that.
Thank you.
And they're also doing partnerships too with people too.
Yeah, make sure y'all go check out the Point Guard podcast. hosted by Baron Davis. I think we have actually part 2, which will come out on Wednesday. It's Gary Payton. There's actually a part on Gary Payton's episode in which he talks about Michael Jordan and talks about how he felt when Michael Jordan said he had no problem with him in the finals. So look out for that. And yeah, Point Guard Podcast.
And for the record, I just want to say that Baron Davis is my unofficial cousin.
Respect. I'll tell him.
It's in the last name. It's all in the name. I mean, it's in the name. I claim all Davises.
I respect it.
I claim all of us.
Terrell Davis, your cousin too.
Yep. Super Bowl champion. I got a Super Bowl champion cousin. I got a point guard cousin. Who else? All of them.
Anthony Davis.
That's my cousin. Yep. I got an NBA champion cousin.
He's from Chicago. He may be your cousin, you know.
He might be.
Maybe. You never know.
He might be. Any Davis, I always like to get their jersey because it says my name on the back. I don't even have the front.
I respect it. I was up to bar, by the way. Got to get you in the studio.
Uh-oh.
It says my name on the back. I don't even have the front.
Ooh.
Bar season.
I didn't even know I have bars. Now you make me feel good about myself.
Bar season.
I'm about to tweet that. All right, y'all. It's been the Spark Report. John W. Davis and Babby. Peace.
That didn't go as planned.